Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We're glad to have you with us here in our Christmas themed webinar, and we're very excited to showcase you a demo of creating a postcard app with Filestack and API layer. Today, we'll be joined by our Filestack expert, Aaron, and he'll guide you on how to make these amazing software work together. We hope you enjoy our webinar, and Aaron, take it away.
All right, as Carl said, we'll be creating a Christmas postcard maker. It's an application in which users can upload and view an image and some information about it. The app works so that whenever a user uploads an image, it checks if it's safe for work, crops it automatically, and applies a Polaroid effect, which is the border, shadow, and tilt effect that you can see here. Now, before we get to the coding part, let's first see how the app works. So you can click on the postcard or the view button to check its contents. So we have here the title, the weather, the region name, and a few text content. Now we've already prepared a few postcards here so that you can see how it looks with multiple images. So let's try creating a new one. So I'll upload this image. And then there it is. It's now processed, so you can see it's a bit tilted now. It has that Polaroid effect. It's been cropped slightly, and since we were able to upload it, it's safe for work. So let's hit save, and we should be able to see this in our home screen. So here it is. Click view, and you can see that the rich text that we added retained its format. So let's close it. Now all this, at least the front end part, can be done in just one sitting. Let's first explore the tools that we'll be using. We have HTML, JS, CSS, and the Bootstrap framework for the front end. At the back end, I've already prepared some PHP codes that communicate with a SQL Server database. Finally, the bulk of our operations comes from using three tools: Frawala, which we'll use as our WYSIWYG editor, Filestack for uploading and enhancing images, and API layer for the location and weather info. Now, if you're not yet familiar with API layer, it's a repository or a marketplace of APIs. So we can browse their marketplace here. You can see that there's ipstack, which we'll use later. They also have a few other helpful APIs, such as currency data, number verification, and they even have some AI ones here. But what we'll need is ipstack. So whenever you call the API, it returns with this JSON response. So there's the IP host name, continent name. There are a lot of information inside it. So we'll check that out later. We will also need weather stack, which is what we'll use to determine the weather. All right, now that we have our tools ready, let's dive into the coding part. So first, let's go to the main page, index.html. So what's important here is this the scripts that we load. So this is for Frawala and for Filestack. This is the style sheet for both of those. And for the JavaScript, it's this one. So we have Filestack and Frawala. And all right, so this is where we'll be displaying the postcards. But let's not focus too much on this yet. So let's first go to the addcard.html. So this is the page where we'll create the postcards. And so we have the title, the navbar. These are the input fields, and this is where we'll be initializing the editor. So take note of this, the ID. And these are just the buttons for our form and a modal for displaying the result of the saving function. Now we have a few JS files here. So there's index.js for loading the postcards. There's the addcard.js, which is directly connected here. And the keys.js, which will include our API keys. And there's a new one called blank, which we will be using as we code through the demo. So we'll be starting over. All right. As you can see here, we also have a few PHP codes here, but we'll not delve into that. So let's focus more on our addcar.js. So let's start by creating the Frontend editor, initializing it. So to initialize it, just type in this code. And then remember our div element earlier. So that's here, Frontend editor. So you want this here. And then there we go. So as you can see here, we have a few uh, properties here which correspond to the Frontend APIs. So those can be events, options, and methods. So first, let's discuss the options. So we have Filestack options, which was introduced in version 3.4, and this is responsible for calling the Filestack functions within the editor, so you don't have to initialize Filestack separately. So once you upload images through Frawala, you can use Filestack's features without even leaving the editor. So let's take a quick look at the Filestack plugin. So as you can see here, we have the Filestack API key, which you can get by creating a free Filestack account. And then the upload to Filestack only, which is just a toggle between the basic and Filestack only modes. So since we enabled this, we can only upload using Filestack, which is fine for us since that's what we want here. And finally, we have picker options, which lets you customize the file picker itself. So we'll be accepting image, any type of image, and we'll be uploading from the local file system. Next, we have the toolbar buttons. This is just for the other WYSIWYG features of Frawala, so let's not delve too much into this. And then we have the events. So these are callback functions for whenever the user interacts with the editor. So every time that the editor that the editor's contents are changed, uh, we'll be updating a variable called editor contents. So we'll be using this method to get the Frawala contents. And then we also have filestack dot uploaded to filestack. So this is triggered whenever a file is successfully uploaded to filestack. So let's this is just for the modal, the bootstrap modal. So let's not check that too much. Okay, so we'll be discussing this later. So for now, just take these into consideration. So we have a callback function for successful upload. We have one for failure. We have one for picker opened and another for picker closed. So these callbacks let you customize the way that users interact with FileStack within your application. And finally, we have two more options, which are height min and height max. So these just, set the editor's size. So let's try adding these here. So we have file stack options, toolbar buttons, events, and height min, height max. All right. So we already have our file stack API key here and keys.js, but take note that when you're building your application, it's best to store these sensitive information in a backend server. But for simplicity, we'll just store it here in a JS file. So copy these. Add the events. So let's leave these just empty for now. All right. So now we should be able to see this editor if we load the application. So let's try changing our JS from the complete one to the incomplete one. So that's blank.js. And okay. So let's click new. And there it is. So at this point, we can upload an image using FileStack that's been integrated into the Frawala editor. But it's not doing anything quite yet. So we don't have the safer work checker. We don't have the smart crop yet. So let's fix that. Okay. So let's try checking the contents of the uploaded image. So let's paste that here. Function. Let's quickly inspect. Okay. So let's try uploading a random image. Okay, don't worry too much about this since we already added the modal stuff. But as you can see here, uh, there's the file, and there are a lot of properties. what we want here, what we want here is the files uploaded property, which is this one. And then at index 0, you can see the metadata of the file. So it's a PNG, that's the file name, the size, and this is what we want, the URL. So once we have this, we can use Filestack's processing features to enhance the image. So, okay, so there are two ways to enhance an image using Filestack. So the first is by using CDN, which you can call through a function. And there's also workflows. So workflows is a Filestack feature that allows users to chain tasks together. We'll stick to using CDN. So once we have the URL, we can just throw it to a function called check as if W, which checks the image for explicit or violent content. So let's add this here. Can remove this. So let's start working on the check SFW. So, okay. So let's check the file stack docs. So it's this one, image SFW. So it's an intelligent service of the file stack file picker. So it just returns these responses. So it's either true or false. And this is how you use it. So essentially, in your file stack dashboard, you'll be generating a policy and a signature. So the policy is usually in a certain format, and I think this is SHA-256 format. But yeah, you just copy the generated policy and signature from your dashboard to your code. So we have it here. We have the contents inside keys.js. So that's the safe for work URL. So we'll just fetch it. And when we get a response, which is either true or false, so we'll just throw it to another function called process postcard. So this is where we'll be doing some of the other features, like the smart crop and the Polaroid effect later on, as well as the API layer. So now let's do the process postcard first. So let's copy this code here. So the first thing we'll do is to call another asynchronous function called apply smart crop. So we'll be using the parameter file URL, and then this is the one. Okay, so remember how here in check SFW we have file URL as the uh, object that will return. So we'll call process postcard with this parameter, which we will then pass to apply smart crop. Now this uses the file stack CDN for smart crop and Polaroid. Let's just check quickly. Okay, so it's different from normal automatic cropping uh, in a way that you'll get exact image that you want. So usually, if you crop things automatically, you won't get to uh, consistently crop the image. So smart crop differs in such a way that it will focus on the most important part of the image. So it's a really cool feature. So it even has a mode such as face, object. If you want to zoom more or crop more into an object, you pick object. Otherwise, you pick face or you just pick auto. So in this demo, we'll just pick auto. You just specify the width and the height, which are required, and the file stack handle. Once we have this, do take note that smart crop and SFW checking are premium features. Okay, so the next thing we want is the Polaroid effect. So as I said earlier, it just tilts the image and adds an, a Polaroid effect, which has an image border and a shadow. We'll just do the normal one, which is Polaroid. So here in one CDN, in one URL, we're calling two FileStack APIs. And then this is the result from the SFW checker. So same thing, we'll fetch and then wait for a response. And then we'll return smart crop URL, which we will store here. So cropped file URL is our final URL for the enhanced image. So now we have to update the contents of the editor. So this is how you do that. Just get the current instance of the editor and replace the file with the cropped file URL. So this replaces the current image with the enhanced one. And then we set the updated content. And then we put it back to editor contents, the variable, which is here. I'll just put that here. Okay, so now we've done all the file stack and Frawala stuff. So let's move on to the API layer. So now we should be able to upload an image and have it enhanced to look more like a postcard. So let's move on to API layer. So what we'll be using, as I said earlier, is ipstack, which uses some type of geolocation to get the geographical and the IP information of the user. So it's really simple to use. You just need to call this API using this URL, and then add your IP stack access key, and then the fields that you want. So if you don't want to specify a field, you can just leave this blank, and you'll get this huge amount of data from which you can pick your uh, the information that you want. So what we really want here is just the region name, okay, which is here. And then uh, we'll make an API call using this as the parameter, the URL. Then we get the result, which we will then uh, add here to the variable region name. So now we should be able to get the user's region. And since we have the user's region, we can then check what the weather's like. So we do that using weather stack. So it works similar to ipstack. So you just make an API call, only this time you'll use api.weatherstack.com, and then same as earlier, the access key and the query. So the result of the API call will store inside this weatherstack response variable, a constant, sorry. And then we will get the information that we want, since weatherstack response is like the ipstack response. It's a lot of data. So here are some of the data that you can get. So there's the here current. So there's the observation time, temperature, weather code. By the way, the temperature is defaulted to Celsius, but you can just quickly change this to Fahrenheit if you want. So we have the weather code, weather icons, which we will also be using, weather descriptions, and the other more technical aspects of the weather, well, which we don't need right now. For now, we want the temperature, icons, and descriptions. So same thing. So when we have that, uh, we'll just do a bit more UI tweaks, and yeah, it should be done. So the other functions here, they're okay. Save postcard. So that's what we'll need next. So, yep, okay. How in our application, after processing the image, uh, it won't be saved right away. So you have to click the save button. So after adding a title, content, the image itself, you'll be hitting a save button. So to do that, uh, we'll assign this onClick function, save postcard, which we'll do here. So it's also asynchronous. So now we get the editor contents from the variable earlier that will change every time the editor changes. So we also have the title from the form, from the input field. And then now we'll make an API call to our addcard.php, which is a file that we prepared earlier. So we'll just use these variables. So the title, text, contents. So the difference between text and contents is that the text refers solely to uh, the text content of the editor. So such as this one. So no format. It's just this, which we use to display here. Whereas the editor contents includes the image itself and all the formatted text, the rich text. So this is just the result of the PHP. So if it's one, it's successful. Else, it'll throw in some error message. For this is for the incomplete information, and then this is for the specific error messages. Then afterwards, we'll show the modal, and yeah, that's it. So we also have a few other functions here. These aren't too relevant to the topic, but yeah, this is just for styling, for clearing the content. And this is the function for getting just the text content of the editor. So we'll just add these here. And now we should be ready to test our new JS. So which is just a replica of this one. So let's reload the page, click new postcard. So let's add something. Oh, yeah, something. And then pick another image and I'll upload this one. And there we go. So let's click save and it's now here. The new image is now here. So it only took a little time. Well, for the front end, that is. But yeah, it's as easy as that. So just to recap, we used Frawala for the WYSIWYG part, so the content editing. So we also used Filestack within Frawala for the upload and enhancements. And finally, we used API layer, particularly ipstack and weatherstack APIs from API layer to determine the weather and the region from which the user uploaded the postcard. So feel free to explore more about Frawala. So as you can see here, it has a bit more options, events, methods, so you can customize it to your liking. And same goes with FileStack and API layer. So like I said, FileStack workflows makes everything so much easier. And that's it for our demo for today. Happy coding.
Thank you, Aaron. And that's it. That's a very cool and Christmassy themed postcard, and it's cool to see how FastStack and API layer work well together. And as always, this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and the code will be uploaded to our official GitHub page. Thank you, everyone, and happy holidays.